LS Simple Man here. We got the little LS Porsche. We got all our plumbing done for our remote water pump, and we're using the LS Simple water pump manifold setup here. And I want to explain a little bit of hydrology, if it's such a word, on these engines, how they're set up to cool. It's a kind of a trip. Yeah, it's not like running a regular water pump. That's some easy stuff. If a radiator's in the front, we use the Porsche radiators over the condenser, and I wanted to do a video before we put the accessories on, because that's going to block everything in. You won't be able to see it as good. The way it works is we'll start at the passenger front tubes that come down through the middle of the car. We tied in, made us an adapter to go to 12A-in screw-on lines like these right here, these nice little braided lines here. And on the right, on the two tubes that come from the front of the car to the back, the one on the right goes to the exit of the cooling system where the water's cooler. So from that point there, it comes in straight from there, from the tube, adapted over, and comes into the lower manifold, part of the manifold. Now I've got it where you can come in either side lower, but what you do is right here, since this is clear for us, we come in on this side, and we're going to have an alternator here, so I didn't want to fool with any kind of lines over here. So the cool water enters the engine here in the larger ports in the block for coolant, which is around the cylinder walls. It fills from there, goes through the cylinder heads, which are smaller ports, and what happens there is the pressure increases because of the size of the ports, you know, in the head. So it exits out here, and from here it goes down and it gets a 3/4 line from our fill jug, which is right here. Once we put our trim on here, you want to see this little piece comes up, this comes up, and then you can get to it and check your coolant. This is where the air comes into the back side of the car, so we got to make us a little piece to cover that up, and then the piece comes back over this. You won't see none of this. So, all right, back to this. And then we got our steam vent from our engine here. We got our intake on backwards, so our air goes in there, comes back out. It ends up here. We'll end up having it right here. So our factory trunk lid will have the air intake and the louvers that go up on it. These are just AC hoses I got roughed in. The compressor is going to go right here. Power steering pump here. Back to our coolant. Cold water comes into the engine on the larger cavities around the cylinder walls, comes out through the cylinders, cylinder heads, which makes it increase the pressure. Goes from here, then the 3/4 line from the fill jug ties into it. Then the pump goes on, pumps the water to the driver's side front where it enters the radiator and starts the cooling process. And then it goes through there, comes back out, and it's a continuous round and round system. You can't put the pump pushing in here, because then it's got the restriction of the high side, which is the cylinder heads. So that needs to drop and have the pump right after the fill line. Then the pump goes in, and if you do it like that, you'll be working fine, because what you want to do is feed the pump with the highest pressure point of this system, which is coming out of the cylinder heads here. You want to go from here, 3/4 fill line, so that's what fills the system, and then pump. And then when we're going to do our heater core, we're going to have 2 exits on this same side just past the pump, and then put a ball cock valve between the 2 fittings to slow the water down where it'll go through the heater core. It'll at least supply water to the heater core, and then the Porsche will control what water enters the heater core through this AC selector. So let's fire this little dude up. It's awful quiet. Kept it quiet. We want it to be kind of a sleeper deal. We got all the gauges working. Got the tack working. That was kind of a challenge. And got all our fans working. This bad boy draws a lot of power to run it because of all the electronics. But she's running good. www.lssimple.net, because com was taken.